Welcome to DFS Insights, where the match behind the match comes alive. I'm David Geislinger, and alongside me is David Grant Jr., my cousin and co-strategist. The event up on the block is UFC Fight Night 240.
With your lineup success as our top priority, this is where David and I will deep dive into what fight matchups we think you should be targeting in order to put yourself in the best position to be at the top of that leaderboard at the end of the night. We will break down the strategy behind our picks and share our insights to enhance your lineup construction. Make sure to join us next week when we cover UFC 300, even more in depth than this fight night, and we will be giving away a free lineup at the very end of that will be handcrafted by the both of us. So make sure to like and subscribe so that way you don't miss out on the free lineups that will be given away for UFC 300.
Yeah, no, nice. And before we get into it, everybody, if you can, go ahead and pause the video and let us know who your fight, what fight you want for tonight. And, who do you think is going to be that fight, that fantasy, monster? While we, I want to hear your reactions prior to us, and then maybe see if we can convince you here at the end of the video. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. So yeah, we got Brendan Allen, Chris Curtis, part two here. No, so yeah, if you want to go ahead and start, just give a general overview of the card, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I specifically remember their first fight as I was extremely heavy on Brendan Allen. He was a major favorite, an even bigger favorite then, back when they fought back in 2001. Chris Curtis looked really good. He surprisingly had a second round knockout. I was definitely shocked. I had Brendan Allen winning that fight, obviously, like everyone else did. His salary was like, I believe, 9,600 then. So when your salary is that high, you're typically expected to win. um, so, it's been Brendan Allen doesn't have any losses since that fight. So he is on a 6-fight win streak, I believe, and this dude subs out everybody. His goal is to get you to the ground and basically choke you out. And I I'm excited. I think this is good redemption for Brendan Allen. I'll be heavy on him again. I don't see. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I'm making 10 lineups, I might go Curtis and 2 just in case he catches him again. In that first matchup, it was a 3-round fight, as well as Brendan Allen just didn't look right. He has been known to have a couple injuries. So, this being a 5-round matchup, and again, this is a couple years later. Again, he's been dominating his other opponents. So I, definitely be targeting. This is the 5-round matchup that is on the slate. Make sure to be targeting one side or the other. I would heavily eat the chalk and be going Brendan Allen in most of your fights.
Yeah, looking back, rewatched the UFC tape on it. Yeah, it was weird, like just to see that whatchamacallit, Brendan Allen, has submitted so many people since that fight, and then in that one he just clearly looked like I don't know if he wanted to stand up with Curtis or whatnot, but yeah, didn't really get him down at all, and then Curtis caught him with the good one to the body, and then across to the and rocked him in the second. So yeah, he got caught sleeping, but that's the nature of the beast with UFC, where and if you really think about it, it's basically 50-50. One person wins. It's these it's not like a team sport like we cover NBA and NFL, where you got to rely on everybody else. So, but with that, yeah, no, I do like that matchup too. Like you mentioned, targeting the 5-round You know, the 5 round fight is a good way to do it, especially with Allen's potential for takedowns and submissions to just start racking up points. So even if it goes into those later rounds, you can still have, you know, that decent chance of getting those points. So yeah, no, I like it. This card, you know, six fights on the main card, 13 fights, well, 14 fights. One got canceled. I'm gonna butcher this bad Alan Tangeli fight. So make sure if you already set your lineups, you're following that. That fight has been canceled, so obviously won't be getting points. And it's across the banner at DraftKings. So this is, as we mentioned, we're going to be basically doing the DraftKings, the slate, just the regular slate. We typically cover the FanDuels with NBA and NFL, but looking forward to it. So enough of me rambling on here, and let's get over to what fights do you got? What fight do you want to think's going to be that fantasy monster for our audience here?
Yeah, there's definitely some good matchups on here. The one I am looking forward to the most, or I wouldn't say the most, but one that has a good chance to me of having either side win is the at the 155 at the lightweight division. We got Mr. Christos Giagos fighting Ignacio Bahamonanides. I'm horrible. Sorry for butchering his name.
Hey, you sound like a UFC announcer. Stop it.
I know, right? I've been following Ignacio since the Dana White Contender Series. They're actually, both of these fighters are from Dana White's Contender Series. And the one coming in with the most hype is Ignacio. He is coming off a loss, and he did not look good in that last fight. I was quite surprised. He was a heavy favorite in that fight to win. His salary at that point was 9,100. He lost a 3-round decision, which I don't know if he went into if he had something hurt. With fight stuff, you never know what's going on. How did their camp go? How did his weight cut go? There's a lot of factors that go in. So it's always important on Fridays to watch the scale, look at that news to see how their weight cuts went and that type of stuff. Always very important for betting on UFC events. I like this matchup. Ignacio is averaging, close to 7 strikes landed a minute, which is big time. With the multiple stats all coming together, I mean, he's really highly favored, around 80% chance to win. He's projected, upwards of 100 fantasy points, which is what you need. It was what you need from someone whose salary is at 9,000 or above. From his other fights that I've seen him in, he's looked great. He has the capability to also sub people as well as knock them out. So that's always good, but he is definitely a striker. He comes to bang. I believe he has 8 knockouts out of his 10 wins. My apologies. My thing had disappeared over here. So yeah, he's got 14 wins, 5 losses in his pro. As being a pro, 9 knockouts, 1 sub, 4 decisions. And then he's never been knocked out. He's been submitted twice and lost 3 decisions. So it's good to know he's never been knocked out. So getting over to his opponent, Christos Giagos. This guy is this is where the fight can get a little interesting to me. He's 20-11. He's got 8 knockout wins, 4 submissions, and 8 decision wins. His losses come by 2 knockouts. He's been subbed 6 times and lost 3 decisions. So it's kind of all over the place. However, that does tell me, he could be a little dangerous on the ground. However, I think he's coming more to bang, more of a striker. Um, yeah, his last couple fights, he got subbed and lost his last fight. He won by knockout, he lost by sub, and then he lost by knockout. So, I mean, he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights. However, just the matchup, this is someone that you can take both sides of this fight. We have yet to see Ignacio, if he goes to the ground, how he's going to handle that. So, Ignacio is really the guy that the UFC is trying to build up. There's certain fighters, they do that. I'm not going to say they're trying to build him up like a Sean O'Malley or something, but he gets preferential treatment, is what I would say, with some of his fights and stuff like that. So coming off this loss, I think they are trying to set him up with someone that he can beat. However, with Giagos also being from the Contender Series, I look forward to this being a great matchup. I'll have both sides of this fight. Obviously I'll have probably 70% Ignacio and probably 30% Giagos, just to mix it up, because Giagos definitely has some ways to win this fight. So that's the fight that I'll be focusing on and having both sides of. Again, that's at the 155 weight class, which is what I really like. Those guys are fast, have the knockout power, like big knockout power. And weight class is a big thing to look at as you are constructing a roster. So sorry for being a little long-winded there. It's our first MMA podcast here. Who do you got here for your matchup to focus on?
Well, just to kind of go on to what your fight. Yeah, I like the fight too. Bahamendez, he looks pretty good. At least the UFC community as well, agrees with us here. Just looking over here, basically, out of the 2,000 votes, 94% of them say that he is going to be the victor of this fight. 41% of that 94 is by knockout, 14 by submission, 37% by decision. So, yeah, obviously you're hoping for the knockout here, but at 155, they still do throw volume. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. As I've explained it to you, but I'll explain it to my audience. I also do basically a math. It's called linear regression tool. Basically, is using existing data to predict future outcomes, and this is just purely math. It doesn't take any side consideration into it, but based on all the stats that UFC provides, strikes per minute, takedowns, defense, blah, blah, all that information. The model that I predicted has him at roughly about a 72% chance, 72.34% chance to win this. The model, just started recently using it, so it's so far it's about 70% accurate or so. 7 out of 10 fights. It's more accurate the more fights the fighter has. It's less accurate when there's only a few fights they have under their belts, because their stats are really skewed that way. So, but yeah, they both look like they have decent amount of fights. So, the UFC community has Bahamendez taking this one. Math has this guy taking this one, and I probably, I'm going to go and agree with both of them as well. I think Bahamendez. But yeah, and as far as fantasy potential, I'm hoping for that knockout. Obviously, I would like the first round, but if he can get some volume in there, I would take a second.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, that great matchup. So moving on over here to my pick. As I was doing the research for this fight, I actually did not know that this was going to be the, I guess, the most favorited fight on the slate. Because I just started, doing, seeing the fights and then starting to do the research before I looked at the salary and everything. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Walter Ignacio versus Lucas Brzezinski. As Walter is the 9,400 salary on the slate here, heavily favored. I think he's all the predictions I've seen online, roughly about a 72% favorite. The UFC community thinks he's a 94% favorite to win this fight. 84% of that is by knockout, 1% by submission, 8% by decision. So up on the graphic here, you can see he's 11-0, professional record. He's younger, taller, has about a little over a 3-inch reach advantage on Brzezinski. Obviously, he's undefeated, so his last 5 fights, the last 4 been by TKO knockout. One being Alex Nicholson, the heavyweight champion over at the Titan FC. So he took that. That was his last fight to take the heavyweight title there. And then he won by decision on his 5th fight. Looking over here at Lucas Brzezinski, his last 3 fights are losses. One by TKO, 2 by decision. He has a no contest. He did win. That was his Contender Series matchup. However, it was overturned because the dude was he popped positive for, I'm going to butcher this too, clomiphene. Basically, it's a supplement that increases the natural testosterone. So he basically, his win got overturned. And so his last win is in 2020, basically, and that was in the Babylon series fights. So yeah, he's not looking too good. He's fighting out of Poland, and Walter, he's Brazilian, but he's actually fighting out of Russia. So just looking over, the most recent matchup with Alex Nicholson. You think, heavyweight, I like it because obviously they're 9 times out of 10, they're strikers, they're, heavy bombs landing, but during that fight, he actually was about 100% taking down Nicholson. So I believe he was 7 for 7 in that fight with takedowns. And as a heavyweight, that's good. So yeah, the strengths I like on the fight for him, his striking ability, it has been pretty top notch. As you can see, 6 of his wins here are by knockout, 1 by submission, 4 by decision. His reach, a 3-inch reach advantage, is huge. Typically, he also does weigh in at the top of the weight class at 265, and I think Brzezinski usually comes in about that 235, 240 mark. So that 25 pounds that's huge, especially if Walter gets one of those takedowns and you have all that weight on top of you, that could wear down. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a fight in the UFC, so there are no data points for me to do my linear model on, unfortunately. But Brzezinski, the one thing I do like about him, he throws them. He throws them. He's averaging about a little over 10 strikes, significant strikes per minute, and he lands about half, about 47% of them, 4.7. So while he, being the lowest person on the card, I don't think he'll throw enough or, to be honest, last long enough to get any value. So I probably will that's obviously a hard fade for me on him because I think Walter's going to finish this guy early. I think he's been eager to get into the UFC. He was actually supposed to fight Jake Collier in September of 2023 at Vegas 79. but I did everything I could to find out the reason why he pulled out of that match, and I could not find it. So if you know the reason he pulled out of the match, go ahead and drop that in the comments below. I'm actually kind of interested in finding that information there. But yeah, other than that, I like it. It has a potential for a first round knockout, so you get all those points. I'm hoping easily with his 9,400 salary, Walter gets me above that 100 fantasy. I'm looking more like one, obviously above 100. So yeah. Overall, I like this fight, and I think it's going to be a good debut for Mr. Walter.
Awesome. Yeah, that's if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's the only heavyweight fight on the card. So that's definitely one to focus on for sure. I always look at weight classes as I'm looking at matchups, and as you mentioned, heavyweight, I mean, really anyone in any weight class can be finished with one punch. But when you weigh 265 pounds, let's be real, you're going to end someone's night with a half of a hit, basically. The PED that Brzezinski got caught with was actually some post-cycle therapy. So that means he was cycling and got caught with that post-cycle therapy, wasn't out of his system yet. And that's too bad. But
and just a correction, my bad, guys. I did do a typo. It's Walker, not Walter. So.
Okay. Hey, yeah. I was reading Walter. I was like, man, that's quite the name there.
That's a typo. My bad.
Good.
Okay. Anyways,
I'm with you on 100%. He is going to be probably the chalkiest guy on the slate. His between being 11-0, him knocking everybody out, everything that you mentioned, and then the fighter that he's fighting, I think they're looking to kick him out of the UFC. He's had 3 fights in the UFC. He's lost all 3 of them. He's on his way out. He's going to lose this fight. We're never going to see him again. That's what's going to happen. So, usually I don't ever like to use the word, this guy is a dead lock. That's even at stuff like this. I did that with the Amanda Nunes, Pena fight where, I was like, oh yeah, Amanda's just the easiest lock ever. She was one of the biggest, Pena was one of the biggest underdogs of all time to win the belt, and you just never know. That's what's great about this sport. Could that other dude get lucky and land some crazy punch on the button? Yeah, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for the numbers. We're here for what's going to happen, 9 out of 10 times. I'm with you. I'll be rostering that guy in 90% of my lineups. I'll eat the chalk there and differentiate myself somewhere else, in one of the other matchups that are going to be on the fight. So, great pick for sure.
Nice. So with that, let us know down in the comments if if our fights change your mind. Hopefully you put your your initial impressions down in the comments. We would like to check those out, and then also if you do fall back, say, hey, yeah, that you did change our minds. We like to hear from you. Get a little bit more engagement too, because that also helps us, and we love helping the community here. So with that, let us know what you think. This is our first UFC cast, our video for the channel. I'm looking forward to it, especially when obviously there's no other sports to cover. We got NBA basketball that we're going to be going heavy on as well, but we're going to be doing UFC at least one video a week for the events here. So with that, good luck. Hope to see you on the leaderboards and see you next week. And David,
look forward to see you guys at UFC 300. Good luck.